A massive earthquake off the coast of Russia sends tsunami waves to Hawaii and California. Tech giants team up to modernize Medicare, and the U.S. economy surprises forecasters with a big second quarter bounce. Later in the show, radioactive wasps, a raccoon river rescue, and why a new AI model is stirring up real-world backlash. Plus, today's trivia question, which U.S. state is home to the tallest lighthouse in America? The answer's coming up at the end of the show. It's Thursday, July 31st, and this is the Flyover Podcast.
Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts.
Good morning and welcome to the Flyover Podcast. I'm Amy Hess, filling in for Ayla Brown again today. She'll be back, though, tomorrow with your top headlines, and I'll see you Friday for the Feel Good Flyover. We're going to wrap this week with stories that just warm your heart. All right, can you believe it? It's already the last day of July. Where did the summer go? Back to school season is right around the corner, and depending on where you live, maybe, just maybe, we'll start to get a break from all this heat. All right, we've got a full show coming your way, and we're cleared for takeoff. Here are today's top stories. First up, some of the biggest names in tech are teaming up with the Trump administration to modernize Medicare. The new program allows Americans to share their personal health data and medical records across apps and health systems. Major players like Google, Amazon, Apple, Oracle, Microsoft, CVS Health, and United Healthcare are all on board. The initial focus is on diabetes and weight management, but the goal is much bigger: to streamline data sharing and upgrade Medicare's digital tools. Officials say the new system will make it easier for patients to access their records anywhere. But some privacy advocates are already raising red flags, warning it could open the door to ethical and legal concerns over how that data is used. Next, the U.S. economy beat expectations in the second quarter, growing at a 3% annual rate. That's a big rebound from last quarter's decline, despite warnings from economists about the effect of recent trade policies. Government data showed consumer spending bounced back, imports dropped over 30%, and core inflation eased to 2.5%. President Trump praised the numbers and renewed pressure on the Federal Reserve to cut rates. But the Fed held steady on Wednesday, pointing to inflation risks and slowing demand. And finally, a massive 8.8 earthquake struck off the coast of Russia, the strongest in 14 years, sending tsunami waves up to 6 feet towards Hawaii, California, and Japan. Hawaii issued evacuation orders urging residents to move to higher ground. But by mid-morning, the threat was downgraded to an advisory, and no major damage or injuries were reported. Meanwhile, Oprah Winfrey faced backlash online after claims she blocked roads near her Maui estate during the evacuation, a claim both her spokesperson and local police denied. Here's what's happening in the world of politics. Big news from California. Former Vice President Kamala Harris announced Wednesday she won't run for governor in 2026, keeping the door open for a possible 2028 presidential bid. The Oakland native called California her home, but said her leadership for now won't be in elected office. Next, a tight Senate vote confirmed Emil Bovee to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. Bovee previously served as a defense attorney for President Trump. He was confirmed 50-49, despite strong opposition from Democrats and whistleblower concerns raised during the process. Next, some challenges ahead in Congress. Illinois Representative Danny Davis announced he won't seek re-election in 2026. The 83-year-old Democrat has represented Chicago's 7th district for nearly 30 years and has been a longtime figure in city politics. Meanwhile, Representative Jerry Nadler of New York is facing a primary challenge from a 26-year-old Rhodes Scholar named Liam Elkind. The young progressive says he's running to bring new energy to the party and take on Trump directly. And finally, in Texas, Republicans have released a new congressional map that could give the GOP 5 more House seats. Democrats say that redrawing the map is an effort to rig the midterms and say they plan to fight it in court. All right, before we get back to the headlines, I want to take a quick minute to share something that's caught my attention lately, especially in my work as a certified wellness coach. One of the top concerns I hear from clients is around healthy aging, how to stay energized, sleep better, move with ease, and just feel good in their bodies as the years go on. That's why I've been so interested in Fatty 15, a science-backed supplement based on a newly discovered essential fatty acid called C15. It's actually the first new essential fatty acid found in over 90 years, and it's already making waves in the health and wellness world. It all started with research by the U.S. Navy on aging dolphins, and what they found is that low levels of C15 can lead to something called cellular fragility syndrome. That's where your cells become weaker and age faster. Fatty 15 works to restore C15 levels, which support your cells, protect them from damage, and help regulate everything from sleep and focus to metabolism and joint health. And the clinical results are pretty impressive. 72% of people who take Fatty 15 report noticeable benefits within 16 weeks. If you're looking to support your long-term wellness or maybe help your parents or loved ones do the same, this could be worth checking out. And with a 365-day money-back guarantee, there's really no pressure. To learn more or try it for yourself, visit fatty15.com/flyover and use code FLYOVER to get 15% off their 90-day starter kit, or just click the link in the show notes. Now, here are some extra stories just for you, our podcast listener. You won't find these in the email. All right, first, a major move on the Epstein case. Senate Democrats, led by Chuck Schumer, are invoking the rarely used Rule of 5 to force the Justice Department to release all documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein. The rule allows any 5 members of the Senate Homeland Security Committee to formally demand federal records. Schumer called the move a serious use of power, not just symbolic. The DOJ has until August 15th to respond. Next, a horrifying scene in Virginia. Danville City Councilman Lee Vogler was doused with gasoline and set on fire by a man who stormed into his workplace. The suspect, 29-year-old Shotzi Michael Buck Hayes, is in custody. Vogler was airlifted to a burn center but is awake and talking. Police say this appears to have been a targeted attack. And finally, a woman is going viral for her magic eye trick that helps her fall back asleep. It involves moving your eyes right, left, up, down, and in circles. Some doctors say it might mimic calming techniques used in trauma therapy, while others are skeptical. Still, experts agree focusing the mind can help quiet those 2 a.m. spirals. Might be worth a try. If you've ever had insomnia, you know you'll try just about anything. Curious what the eye trick looks like? Here's a demonstration.
So this is what you do. I'm going to demonstrate it. Your eyes need to be closed while you're doing it. Obviously, mine will be open. So you look to the right, you look to the left, you look up, you look down, and then you go around in a circle, and then you go the other way. And that's it. And you just repeat it until you fall back asleep. One night, I swear I did it twice, and I remember thinking, like, no way is this going to work. And then next thing I knew, it was like 7:30, my alarm was going off.
Still ahead, we've got your daily dose of sports and science, plus an unexpected breakthrough from NASA, and a very odd story about armpit pheromones. Yep, we're going there. But first, let's head into the finance world. We're starting with a few major headlines from the business world. First up, Wingstop stock soared nearly 27% on Wednesday after the company reported its most profitable quarter on record. Executives also announced plans to speed up new restaurant openings, and investors clearly liked what they heard. Wingstop was flying high by the end of the day. Next, trade tensions are heating up again. President Trump announced a 25% tariff on imports from India, calling it a penalty for what he described as unfair trade practices, particularly India's continued business with Russia. Also, Wednesday, Trump signed a sweeping order imposing a 50% universal tariff on all copper imports. The news sent U.S. copper prices tumbling, dropping as much as 18% in after-hours trading. And finally, Starbucks says it's done with pickup-only stores. The company is planning to either close or transform about 80 to 90 of those locations, saying they've become too transactional and don't reflect the warmth or connection the brand is known for. All right, let's take a look at how the markets responded. The Nasdaq tipped up just slightly, 0.15%. The S&P 500 and Dow both slipped, down 0.12% and 0.38% respectively. Bitcoin dropped about 0.64%, while gold nudged higher, 0.11%. And like we said earlier, Wingstop stole the show. Its stock soared nearly 27% after reporting record profits. All right, let's head to the world of sports, where one pitcher had himself a wild day. Sir Anthony Dominguez was traded from the Orioles to the Blue Jays in the middle of a doubleheader. Literally, he switched jerseys and ended up pitching against his old team just 90 minutes after playing for them. He handled it like an absolute pro. You can check out the video linked in today's show notes. It's worth a look. And in the pool, French swimmer Léon Marchand just broke the 200-meter individual medley world record, shaving nearly 2 seconds off Ryan Lochte's long-standing time. That is no small feat. Lochte's record had held for over a decade. And one for the Hoops fans, the NBA announced plans to play a regular season game in Manchester, England in 2027. It'll be the league's first ever regular season matchup on British soil. And finally, ESPN has officially cut ties with commentator Shannon Sharpe. The move comes just days after he quietly settled a $50 million rape lawsuit out of court. Time now for science and technology. NASA and India's space agency are teaming up to launch NISAR, a satellite designed to detect tiny shifts in Earth's surface down to just a few centimeters. It's equipped with dual-frequency radar and could be a game-changer in understanding natural disasters, agriculture, and even groundwater movement. Meanwhile, Vogue is facing backlash after featuring its first AI-generated model in a Guess ad. Critics say it promotes unrealistic beauty standards and threatens jobs in fashion and photography. As if social media filters were not enough, now we have completely digital models. Yikes. What do you guys think? Is that going too far? We've got it linked in today's show notes. And one of the strangest science headlines of the week. Japanese researchers found that a woman's scent, specifically armpit odor, can actually reduce male stress and increase perceived attractiveness. Did not see that one coming. Science, you never fail to surprise us. I think I'm going to stick with my deodorant for now. All right, don't go anywhere. We've got our final 3 segments, etc., today's poll position, and your Lighthouse Trivia answer. All right, let's close out today's show with a few stories you might have missed. First, Skechers has released new kid sneakers with a hidden compartment to hold an Apple AirTag, so parents can keep track of their kids or their shoes at the very least. My question is, can I AirTag more of my teenagers' belongings because, according to him, they must just get up and move on their own? All right, next, over in South Carolina, officials found a radioactive wasp nest near the Savannah River nuclear site. It tested over 10 times the federal contamination limit, but officials say there's no threat to the surrounding area. Meanwhile, pop star Katy Perry was spotted dining with former Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in Montreal. The photo sparked instant online buzz, with some wondering whether it was just a dinner or maybe the beginning of a new relationship. And finally, a baby raccoon is melting hearts online after braving the rapids of a flooded river in Reno. It leapt into the Truckee River, paddled through strong currents, and somehow made it to safety, all while stunned bystanders watched and filmed. The photos are incredible, and we've linked them in today's show notes. All right, it's time now to turn the mic over to you for today's poll position. Yesterday, Ayla asked, at airport security, would you prefer using manual ID or facial recognition? And here's how you answered. 51% said manual ID, 29% said facial recognition, and 20% said, no, thanks. I prefer not to fly. All right, I know yesterday Ayla said her answer was really anything that makes it go faster through airport security, and I really have to agree with her on that. All right, time for today's question, and we're going a little nostalgic with this one. Do you still own a working VCR or any VHS tapes? Your options are, I have a VCR, only VHS tapes, both, or what's a VCR? Okay, I have to weigh in that yes, we do still have a VCR, and it really feels like a relic. But we do have some VHS tapes, and so it does come in handy every now and then. All right, speaking of, I actually need to get those digitized. All right, let me know if you've got a VCR or a VHS tape lurking in your basement or garage, and Ayla will be back tomorrow to share the results. All right, let's close things out with today's trivia question. Which state is home to America's tallest lighthouse? The answer? That title belongs to North Carolina, where the Cape Hatteras Light Station stands tall in Buxton. At just under 199 feet, it's the tallest lighthouse in the country, built that high to extend the light's reach from its low-lying beach site. If you ever visit, be ready for a climb, though. It's 269 steps to the top, but I hear the view and the history are totally worth it. Pretty illuminating, right? All right, that's a wrap for today's episode of The Flyover. Thanks so much for spending your morning with me. And don't forget, Ayla will be right back with you tomorrow for your sharp, no-spin headlines. And I'll be right here on Friday with our Feel Good Flyover edition, sharing the kind of stories that lift your spirit and make you smile. If you like what we do here, don't forget to like, follow, and share. Until then, I'm Amy Hess, and as always, thanks for flying with us.